Hi everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Local Sex Shop. My name is Micaela and I'm your hostess. Today I am very happy that I'm gonna have the talk that I'm gonna have because it's been something that we've been trying to organize for some time. And today we are going to be talking about a safe house, about women who are sex workers and survivors of trafficking. And with us, we have the volunteer coordinator, Carissa, to tell us all about it and to tell us about how it is like to volunteer at the house.
Yes.
Hi, Carissa.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So before we start, would you like to tell people a bit about yourself and who you are to get to know you?
Yeah, sure. My name is Carissa Huizinga. I'm 42 and I'm working as a volunteer coordinator by the Overweeghuis. I have working there as a volunteer myself for 4 years previously, and also worked as a volunteer coordinator on Curaçao for a different foundation. Right now, I love the work I'm doing, and I'm doing it with passion, and that's what we're here to talk about. So, yeah.
Yes, I definitely agree. It's lovely work. So I would like you to, because I just said like a safe house for sex workers and survivors of trafficking, and that might be a bit too vague for people. Mm-hmm. I would like you to give us a bit more information about what exactly is Het Overweeghuis and what exactly it does.
Yeah. The Overweeghuis, we just had our 5-year Lustrum celebration. We started in 2019, and the reason why we started is that before the Overweeghuis, there was a tippelzone in the, we call it like industrial area. It was right behind the McDonald's. And the government, they decided that they wanted to close the whole zone. And there were citizens, they got the hearing about it and they were talking with each other. And a couple of the citizens who have already a background with their own career working within women's shelters, they were really aware of the situation that was happening right there and then, and also have kind of struggling about the future. Like how would we deal with the women if you're closing this whole zone? Where would they go? They're on the street. So they put all the heads together, and they opened they opened the Overweeghuis in 2019 together with Salvation Army. There have been a really big support from the beginning, and they're helping us throughout. Well, that's a little part of the background from the house. We have a house with 5 rooms for the women. And the women that we're sheltering are really diverse. They're having backgrounds from human trafficking, also from prostitution. And yeah, that's how they will get to us, basically. Yeah.
Okay, so I think you've said at the beginning I don't know the English version. Mm-hmm. Let's say the I want to say pickup.
Yeah, like the tippelzone.
Yeah. Can you also say a bit what that was that closed off? Because I assume not everyone might know about it.
Mm-hmm. How the situation,
yes.
What it was. The tippelzone is like a street walking prostitution. It was outside and it was forbidden to have the prostitution on the streets. So they put a special area for it outside of the city, just on the industrial area. Most women who were working there, they were either illegal and also heavily addicted. And most of them would be addicted to heroin. Mm. And to make sure they had a safe place to work at, they have their own place and their own son together with people who would stand by and support them, basically.
So from what I've known, there were actually also like social workers or people who were, I don't know if they had medical expertise or something, also in that street.
Yes. You have the GGD and you also have the Salvation Army. They have been there throughout to help them either medically or also practically by supporting them with their papers or with their strugglings with taxes, many practical things as well. And the GGD was there to support them with STD testings, make sure they're having their hygiene and everything.
Okay, so there was this transition from the street to the house.
Yeah.
And it was like more of a city action because of, I guess, that it wasn't so viable to keep having that point in the city.
Mm-hmm.
That was interesting, though, however, that you say that people had to be there and like support them in the streets, because I think sex work is legal in the Netherlands. Mm-hmm. So you would expect that the law would kind of predict better circumstances and better, I guess, infrastructure for mm-hmm. people. So why was that difficulty and that need to basically have people there? Otherwise, people were not getting access to things. Why is there this gap between like sex workers and the help that they need, you think?
Well, there can be many reasons why there is a gap between the sex workers and the helpers. Number one, they don't always know how to find each other. Some of them, they will be working where we don't know where they're working. It's like, it can even be in your own building. It can be hidden as your neighbor, well, anywhere, basically. There's a taboo. Sometimes they're scared. Sometimes there is a network controlling them. So it's not always easy to get access to our, to help them, basically, because we don't always know where are they, who are they, and how can we reach them. But we do have many options. Like the Salvation Army, they do also have a meeting point, and they also have street work, basically. So they also attend the women who are working by the red light district. So that's a all different field, basically. And because the government, they said, okay, we're closing the Tippelzone, but we still have the red light district, and we still have opportunities to work at a brothel or escort, for example. Yeah, so they just closed the whole section.
Okay, I want to like move on a bit from that part, from the street, and go back to the house. Mm-hmm. And I would like to ask you, since we're here to talk about volunteering at the house, if you can talk me a bit about who is working at the house, or who the volunteers are, or if they have to have a certain background, for example, to volunteer there.
Mm-hmm. Our volunteers are various. Like we have from 21. It's our preference that you're at least 21. There's no max. Like I think our oldest is 72 right now. And I really like that's very diverse. Like we have international students who are working with us. They mainly speak English. Well, some of them, they only speak English, but we've never really come to a situation that it has been an issue. Most of our women, they know how to speak English, and our other volunteers, they do as well. And well, as everybody knows, we have our Google Translate and so on. So that's not an issue. We have a lot of women who are housewives or mothers, or they have even their own career, but they still want to do volunteer work. We also have women who are already with pension and they just want to contribute something to society. It's very diverse, and I'm not asking for papers or any background. And of course, it's nice that you have a background in your studies or in your work or anything personal. But I think the main thing is that you don't judge, and that you have an open mind, and that you are there to support. And don't see yourself as a saving angel. Just be there. You're supporting, and yeah, like no papers asked, but just this kind of an attitude. It's a kind of
like the mindset of...
The mindset, yeah. It's like be there to support them and try to give them a little bit of a view of your life. And don't make it personal, but just show them how it could be, or what options are there. It can even be baking a cake. Just be there, and that's the main thing. Try to connect and try to see if you can motivate them. That's very important. Yeah.
I think I really liked your phrase of like, don't think you're a saving angel.
Yeah.
Because I think that people who are not in contact with people who have gone through sex work or people who have gone through trafficking, for example, may have an attitude of, I am like in a better place and I'm going to help you.
Yeah.
And I think this is an energy that you can kind of feel if you are interacting with someone and they think that they are basically superior to you or better than you, or like that they know better. So I think it's very good that you said that, because I think it kind of puts things in some perspective where you also see that the people who are living in the house have their own agency and have their own autonomy and have their own ability to make their decisions, and no one is there to, in quotes, save them from something.
Exactly. And you have to accept if they make the decision to keep staying in the sex work. Like, of course, we have our preference, and of course, we would like them to make a choice to, like I say, evolve in life, basically. But if this is something that they have known from, sometimes even from they were 10 years old, it's very hard to make them kind of change their life. It's not only the work, it's the whole network and everything around it. So you have to accept if they choose to go back. We accept it. It's not like a failure. And if they do choose to go back, we have to support them to make sure that they can do the work safe.
Yeah, I think that's very good. Because it can also be tricky to think that they have to be there, and now you are trying to force them into, you have to get out of it.
Exactly. And that's not what we're there for. We are just there so they can consider. They can consider what they want to do with their life. And if it's going back, it's going back. And we have to support that too. Yeah.
Okay, nice. I think you also answered kind of what kind of characteristics the volunteers have to have when you are answering me, which would be my next question. So then I will go to the one after that. I would like to ask you a bit about the shifts the volunteer have throughout the day. If you can tell me a bit about that. Like, I know there's a few, basically morning, afternoon, evening, night. So if you can walk me through a day of volunteering.
Yeah. Well, the day starts with a morning shift, and the morning shift start at 8:45 until 1. In the morning shift, most of them are quiet. A lot of women, they sleep in. They might not wake up before 11. And it's perfectly okay, because they are there to rest. They are there to come to themselves. We are not there to make sure they are in a regime or something. So we leave them be. So the mornings, they can be quiet, but we do have a lot of residents. They would wake up early. They would tell you, please, can I smoke a cigarette, or at 8 o'clock. So mornings can mean that you support the women with their housekeeping task. And it can mean that you might help them with something practical. They might need an appointment with a doctor, or they need a new phone SIM card. It can be anything, basically. When you get there in the afternoon, you'll have a transfer shift with the one from the morning. You will go in the afternoon, make sure that they are doing their task. You check who has to do the cooking. If it's the one, a volunteer, then make sure that all the ingredients that are already put out, basically. Just do a little bit of pre-work for the cooking. And when you come there in the night, that one is from 4:45 until 10. That one is not quiet. That one, it's very, it's like where most of them will be home. Most of them will either play a game, watch a movie, or smoke a cigarette. And when you have the evening shift, you are there to either cook for them or support them cooking together. Sometimes they just wish to be left alone and do their own cooking. And you will be there by dinner, and you will make sure everything is, you will try to make sure that it will be around 6:30, 7 max. And then when you have the evening shift done, there's also a night shift. And the night shift is from 10 until 9 o'clock, basically, in the morning. With that one, even though that you're sleeping, you still have to be alert and you still have to be present. So if the women need you, you cannot say, oh, I'm sleeping, leave me alone. You're really there for the women. And they might wake you up. They might ask you if they can go out, smoke a cigarette. They might ask you if for a listening ear. But yeah, you are there just to make sure that everything stays nice and quiet. And that's how it will continue every day, basically. During the week, we do have the professionals from the Salvation Army. So they will be there during the week as well. But the evenings and the weekends, you will be there either alone or with other volunteer together, basically. And I do prefer working together, so you have 2 volunteers at once, because you cannot leave one volunteer. You cannot go out and the house will be alone, so you can split up, basically, and you're more flexible when you work with the 2 of you instead of one. Yeah.
So first of all, from that, I hear that there's a lot of collaboration among volunteers and residents, that there is like some structure around housekeeping, basically, because it's like living together, like a normal house. And I also hear that there's also some professional support.
Yes.
And what is the role of that professional support, for example?
The professional support, they are there to make sure that the whole process from the start, from the lost the word.
Like an initial meeting?
Interview, yes. Like they're having the interview with the women, and some of them might come through police, some of them might even come themselves. So they make sure that we get the right women to the right place, basically. And when they're in the house, they will also make sure that they get the right steps after our house, because some of them need to go to detox, some of them have to go ambulant living. I'm not sure if you say it the same in English.
Like assistant living?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yes. So there are many steps after our house, and they are making sure that they're getting where they should be, basically. Yeah. They also support them by having conversations, asking about their goals, and see how they can help them by getting there. Yeah.
So the professionals are there as a connection, basically, to issues that have to do with either housing or like assistant living. So I think also has to do with someone who might not be able to take care of themselves independently. So if there's other problems also happening, and the rehab also, as you said.
Yeah, and they're also there to support the volunteers. So in case you have any questions, like how you should deal with a certain situation, then you can really go to them, ask them and talk how you can handle it. And they are there to support you and give you advice as well.
Going back to the shifts a bit, you mentioned that you would like it when it's 2 volunteers, so that one of them can go out with is it with the resident, or because I had this question of like, what else do the volunteers do with the residents?
Yeah, it's like, for example, you can go outside with the residents just for a walk, or you can go to the supermarket, even do an activity. They would like to go swimming. They like sometimes to go to the city. They will go out and they will just be there, just do something. It can be anything, basically, but you cannot leave the house. So that's why it's important if there are 2. One of them can go out maybe with a resident and one can stay home. Yeah.
Okay, so you do these things while you have a shift, if you want to. Yeah,
if you want to, like you adjust and see. It's like comme ci, comme ça. Like you never know how the shift will go. You can plan a lot of things ahead, and then you can even phone the house and say, hey, I'm coming and we're going for a swim. Be ready. I will pick you up. It can never go how you planned. It's normal. But yeah, stuff like that, you can feel free and see how you can give them a little bit of distraction, basically.
Yeah, and I think it's nice that, like, because you said there's so much variety in volunteers, so I know that they also bring in their unique interests and what they like to do and do that with the residents.
Yeah, it's nice. Like if you have a hobby, let's say you like baking, of course, take your phone, walk through TikTok together, find a nice recipe, and plan on doing something together like that. Yeah, that's awesome. I have people who even bring their own dog. and the residents, they love it. They will not all the dogs, but yeah, they kind of they really like it, and they're walking them outside and even taking them to their rooms. You will not even see the dog for the whole shift. It's yeah, and it's nice. Yeah, so yeah, be yourself and bring your own hobby and see if you can connect with it together. Yeah, that's awesome.
That's very nice. And I think that's also what makes it feel more homely rather than, I don't know, I guess a service.
Yes, exactly. You are there more like, just see yourself like a neighbor, like a friend, like an aunt, like a niece. It's, yeah, you are there to visit and to support. And yeah, it's very homely, friendly. Yeah, you will see it if you're getting there, but yeah, it's nice.
How often do the volunteers have to be there?
Like when, let's say you will start being a volunteer or you're a volunteer already, like I prefer you having one shift a week, because our women, they might stay for 3 months, 4 months. And if you don't come regular, you will always be the new face. So it's quite important. And of course you can have your holidays and you can have your days off, but on a regular basis, yeah, try one shift a week.
Which is also like 4 hours, by the way.
4 hours, yes.
And you said before that basically it doesn't matter where you're from because there's international and Dutch volunteers.
Yes, yeah. And our women, of course, they're from several countries. So they even prefer having our volunteers also from different backgrounds. And if you can speak several languages, it's very useful to have in the house.
Yeah, definitely. Because there are some times where, well, for example, I know that Spanish, there's a lot of women who speak Spanish, and sometimes maybe their Spanish is better than their English, for example. So how good it is to know that you can talk to your language and be completely understood.
Yeah, and that's great, because like even for us it works nice if you have a volunteer who speaks Spanish and you have a resident who speaks Spanish. You can connect them together, and yeah, it's nice.
I would also like to ask you a bit, because before you said about detox and about addictions, how does it go with substance use for women in the house? Because I imagine that it's not very realistic to expect, like, if someone has an addiction, to tell them, okay, now you are here, so no more addiction, basically.
Yeah, a lot of women, they're addicted who are in the industry, and some of them, they're addicted by force even. They have been given drugs to start the work, and they have been kind of kept dependable on not even the drugs, but also the one who is exploiting the women, basically. And when they're getting to our house, it's not realistic to tell them, okay, you want to consider to stop prostitution, but you cannot use the drug anymore, and it won't work. So we have like a policy that they can use drug, but not in the house. They can use it outside in our garden. We have a very nice big garden with a garden shed. And that's how we can regulate it a little bit. They will not go to the streets. They will stay within our house, basically. And yeah, that's how we're trying to keep it a little bit doable for them and also for us. It's sometimes a challenge, especially when there are more women in the house who are using. Because if they're using, they might
share.
Yeah, exactly. And you will have your fights about who was using from who and who was lending money and so on and so on. But yeah, it's something that we kind of used to, and you will have to get used to it, of course. But we want to give them the chance to slowly adjust their life, and not like that they have to quit everything. And yeah,
I think that is quite reasonable to like give them that opportunity to transition by themselves if they want to. But it also made me think, because volunteers might be not maybe inexperienced with that kind of like setting. I wanted to ask you, how do you support the volunteers in a setting that it's challenging? If you are, for example, I also know that there are a lot of students, a lot of psychology students like myself.
True.
So yeah, how do you support the volunteers who are in that position?
Yeah, it can be a challenge, of course, to be a volunteer. You can also have like secondary trauma, how we call it. Of course, if a woman will tell you their story, it will hit, and you might take it home, and it can even keep you up, and that's not how we would like to see it. So we were trying to give you training and help you with understanding our women, basically, and also understand their situation that they have been. Therefore, sometimes I have meetings and I will invite a police officer. I will invite somebody from council, and they will explain the way how it's working within our city, basically. Also, like I said, our professionals. So if there is something between a volunteer and a resident, or if there's something that a volunteer struggling with, they can always contact either me or one of the from Salvation Army and ask their questions. So we always try to keep them, let's say, I'm trying to let the volunteers understand our women by showing them the world that the women have been in, basically. If it was up to me, I can even bring them to a brothel. I would bring them to the red light even. I cannot do that, but just to give them a little bit of a view on how is the situation and where were the women situated in, basically. But yeah, that's a little bit complicated to do it like that. But I really try to support them and give them a little bit of a view of the position they have been in, basically.
Which sounds very good, and also helps with the mindset that we're talking about before.
Yeah, it will help. Yeah, because the women, they are mostly traumatized, and they will have their way of communicating, and they will manipulate, and they will test you. So you have to be a little bit strong, and then it's a good thing to really try to understand your, how can you say, like the women that you're working with, you will have to understand them. So it's not here and now, it's also
before.
Yes, and that's what I'm trying to show the volunteers as well. Yeah.
Really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
How often do you look for volunteers? Do you have like a specific, like let's say volunteer season, or?
Well, summertime can be hard sometimes because a lot of volunteers, they might go back to their own country. When we have international students, most of them, they will sign their last script and poof, they're off. So yeah, the holidays as well, Christmas time, everybody will have their holidays, also go back to the country or maybe have visits and so on. I can kind of say I'm looking for volunteers all years through, but we do have a very firm base of volunteers. Some of them, they already work with us for the complete 5 years. But because the target is a little bit heavy and not all volunteers stay, basically, because it hits home. You have to be firm in your shoes, basically. So I'm looking for volunteers that are firm, and they're always welcome.
if you are listening and you are firm and you would like to volunteer.
And if you don't yet, and if you have an open mind, you're welcome.
Yeah, which is also a bit why we're here to talk about it, to get the word out. If anyone is interested to join and help, with a little note that the volunteers are women.
Yes,
specifically women.
Yes, we only have female volunteers.
Yeah. I'm coming kind of to an end of my questions. I would like to ask you if you have some like good or happy memories or like nice stories that come to mind from the house or from the residents individually.
Well, like we also have like a body network, and that's like my pride, because of all the women that we have sheltered, basically, you can say we had maybe 110 women throughout the whole 5 years. And I don't want to really give them numbers, but let's say maybe 1 out of 10 that we still have a nice contact with, that are doing well, that they have their own house, a career. Some of them get married. Some of them even have children right now after they have been in our house. And seeing them having success and seeing them process in life, that's like my drive. Yeah. And some of them, they will, even now, like even a year later, you can get a text message like, hey, Carissa, with a picture, I got my house and stuff like that. It's like, it's like, I don't know, like you cannot explain how it will be. You can get to the house. Even one time, they were talking with me and they said, hey, Carissa, we don't really see you like a volunteer or something. I was like, okay. And they said, like, we kind of more see you like almost like a godmother or something. I took it like a compliment, even though it made me feel really old. But it's nice because you share stuff and they will joke around with you. They will even give you a present. For example, I will not snitch on her, but we had a resident who made like a glitter bomb as a present for one of our professionals. And it's just small things that you can see the interaction between the volunteers, the professionals, and our residents that makes it really like one home, basically. And there's too much stories to tell to keep it in one story. But my drive is to see all of them who are succeeding and all of them who are, even though you cannot say they didn't succeed, because I don't see it like a success, basically. But as long as you can plant a seed, and even though they are still back, and even though they're not quitting drugs, and they're still within the network, they will still remember the apple pie you bake with them, and they will still remember that one time that they beat you with Skip-Bo. And stuff like that is priceless. And sometimes we have our campfire in the garden. And I remember also one time, like, you will sit there, you will talk, you will have your marshmallows, and that's where the conversations happen. And conversations like that, you will never forget. Like, it will hit home, but it's nice. It's inspirational and,
gives you warmth on the inside.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's nice. And it makes you feel like, okay, this is where we're doing it for. We're giving the women confidence. We're planting seeds and hoping that they're kind of learning how to believe and trust in themselves, how to love themselves. And that's only by showing them that they're loved. And that's something that they're not familiar with. And
Yeah. And it sounded very gezellig.
Yeah.
And you were saying it.
It's gezellig. Correct.
I will have one final question for you, if you have something in mind. I like to ask people for recommendations for resources, like it could be movies or books or podcasts or YouTubers or anything that you think it's related to what we talked about.
Yeah. Cool. There are so many things like I would say check Bright Fame. There's a foundation. It's called Bright Fame, and I know that those people, they work in Amsterdam, and they're very passionate about their work, and they have been doing the work for more than 20 years as well. But if you go on their website, you will see also their work and their stories and where they're coming from. I cannot say one book in particular. I do know one book. I will check it. It's from Samira. She wrote her story, and it's quite interesting. I will check it for you. Let me see. Wait, Samira. I wrote it down earlier.
What is the I'm sorry, what is the foundation doing exactly?
Bright Fame is a foundation that's helping the women who's working by the red light district in Amsterdam. And they're also helping them sometime to return home by supporting with microcredits and see if they can return home. And basically just be there for the women. They have also a meeting point, a house chamber where they can visit. Yeah.
Even if you can't if you can't find the book right now, it's okay because we will link.
Okay.
We can link it in the description.
Okay.
You can send me the link, and we will just put it down.
Okay.
I would also like to give a recommendation. I would like to recommend people to look up, well, on Instagram or just on the internet, because they have a website, the European Sex Workers' Rights Alliance, which is basically like an umbrella organization that works with a lot of other different organizations around Europe that support sex workers, and they also try to actively lobby for better regulations on a European level for sex workers' rights. And yeah, I'm a bit biased because I'm also in their researcher network, so I know a lot of academics around Europe, in the UK, in the Netherlands, in Germany, like all of those countries who are really trying to do research and have, concrete evidence, like what exactly sex workers that they need, and try to push it upwards. And yeah, I think it would be very nice to see. And they often also have talks and conferences online about healthcare issues or migration, like issues that workers who are immigrants are facing while also doing sex work. And I think it's very important that they're talking about this. So they also have videos on YouTube. I will also link that. And with that, I think that we're done.
Okay.
I would like to thank you for coming here and talking to us about the house and about volunteering and about what that means.
Yeah, you're welcome. And hopefully, if you have seen this and heard about it, you can check our website. I think it will be linked as well.
Yeah.
And
on the recommendations.
Yes.
First recommendation
on top. Yeah.
Yeah.
And who knows? You can always contact, and we can see what we can do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation as well.
Of course. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And thank you for everyone who has listened and watched us. And I hope that you will see us. We will see you next time.